Good evening, I'm Andy.
And I'm Evan.
And together,
we're the Deplorable General.
Every week we bring you tactical tips and tricks, guns and gear review, and political commentary. I myself am a military veteran.
I'm a security contractor, former bounty hunter, and chief firearms instructor at Tactful Tactical.
Tactful Tactical is our parent company that oversees the Deplorable General. We do defense, preparedness contracting, consulting. We do firearms classes, security consulting, and we do security work and whatnot as well. So we have a pretty wide berth when it comes to these types of things. If you would like to reach out and contact us, you could do so at tactfultactical@usa.com, or you can go to our Facebook page, Tactful Tactical. Check out our YouTube channel, where some of these videos end up. Sometimes they don't, because we are a live local TV show out of the York, Pennsylvania area. So sometimes the content of the show is only relevant to this area, so we don't put it on YouTube. So we don't upload these videos every single week, but the ones that are relevant as a whole, we try to put on there. Sometimes we also do individual podcasts and product reviews and things like that we put up there as well. So you can check our YouTube channel out as Don't Tread space on My Liberty. And if you can't find it that way for some reason, go ahead and just type in the Deplorable General in the search box, and you'll see 1 or 2 or 10 of our videos. Click on it, and you can start watching them from there. We would greatly appreciate if you jumped on there and checked some of our videos out. Leave some comments for us. If you think they're terrible, let us know that too. People certainly haven't hesitated in the past to let us know when we need some improvement. So, and we appreciate it. We just appreciate you guys tuning on and watching. We always like to give shout outs to the local gun shops here in our area. Down in Shrewsbury, we have the Gun Bunker, over 3,000 guns in stock. Even still to this day, they have more guns in stock than any other gun shop in the area that I know of. Great people. Heading up outside of York, heading west, we have Carbon and Steel Sporting Goods. Their shelves are looking pretty dry, but they're getting new stuff in every week. So check them out. If they don't have what you're looking for, they might still be able to order it. And then heading south down into Jefferson, we have Jefferson Firearms. Steve and Carrie, they put their gun shop into their garage, turned it into a kind of a bunker. They have in-house gunsmithing there. Carrie is the gunsmith, does really good work. They still have both firearms and ammunition. So check them out. And then down in Hanover, we have WESL Sporting Goods. They have always been a little bit more geared toward the hunting and fishing crowd, but they have a pretty decent selection of firearms across the board, and I've always found that their used gun section is probably like second to none for me. I found more there in the used gun section than I have anywhere else, and all of these places are great people. Go in and talk to them. If nothing else, it's a great group of guys and gals to just go out and converse with.
I want to give a shout out to Moe's Golf Station out in West York. They keep me on the road. They'll keep you on the road. And also there was I don't know if this was a joke or what, but somebody sent us some fake plate carriers. Fake plates. So whoever did that, we want to say thank you. And feel free to send us more free stuff. We'll take it.
Yeah. They were like foam rubber gym mat material, like ballistic plates that wouldn't really stop your finger from going through. But yeah. So whoever sent those to us, there wasn't any kind of note or anything with it. So hey, thanks. I don't know what we're gonna do with them, but thanks.
You have them now.
Yeah, at first I thought maybe it was like some kind of new, like super hot, top secret composite material that is like, feels like foam rubber and would actually stop a bullet. And no, it's just foam rubber. So, but yeah, like Evan said, thanks for that. So tonight's guest is coming back to us for the second time now. This is Dr. Val Finnell. He is the president,
Pennsylvania director.
Pennsylvania director.
Yep.
That's Pennsylvania director of the Gun Owners of America.
Mm-hmm.
which is an organization that I think has done, in my opinion, they've done more for gun rights, more actionable items for gun rights than any other organization that's out there. They're the one organization that I belong to and will continue to belong to and will continue to throw my money at, because they're one of the only organizations that I've actually seen them take that money and do things with it to actively support and defend the Second Amendment. So Val, thanks for coming on.
It's a pleasure to be here again. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of things we could talk about. A lot of things have happened. I'll leave it up to you what direction you want to take.
I want to take the win today. We got a big win in Philly today.
Yeah. So on Monday, you're right, December 7th, the city of Philadelphia will began reissuing concealed carry licenses. We call them licenses to carry firearms in Pennsylvania, or LTCFs. So Gun Owners of America was the first gun rights group to sue the city of Philadelphia back in October because of the delays in issuing the LTCF license. So it was a suit about the excessive delays in the license. And then what happened along the way, around November 18th, the city decided to shut the GPU down. They call it the gun permit unit. That's how they issue the permits in Philadelphia. Now, the rest of the state is the county sheriffs, but the Philadelphia Police Department is the entity that issues the LTCFs. So on the November 18th, they decided to, because of COVID and different problems, we're going to shut the GPU down. Well, our attorney, Andrew Austin, called the city solicitor and said, hey, are you going to let the judge know that you shut the GPU down? And the solicitor said, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to. So in this letter, it went to the judge, Judge Wright in the Court of Common Pleas. It basically said, we had to shut the GPU down because of these reasons, largely around COVID, but we hope to be back up and running again December 7th. Well, December 7th rolled around, and they weren't ready to reopen. So we saw Philadelphia say, let's start accepting applications by email. So that was a big victory for us. Was that our attorney was really on top of that. Now, other gun rights groups like FPC have sued the city too, based on Second and 14th Amendment grounds. We sued the city in state court. So this was a big win for GOA and for gun owners in Philadelphia, because let's face it, you cannot carry openly in a state of emergency or conceal in a state of emergency without a license to carry firearms.
Right.
In Philadelphia, that's the case all the time.
Yeah.
So unless you're engaged in mortal combat when you walk out the door of your house, which is what the exception to the law says, I mean, you're essentially, the government is saying you're defenseless. We will not let you apply for an LTCF. Do you think the criminal down the street is going to pick up the phone and say, hey, can I apply for a permit? I mean, I'm going to plan on robbing somebody. No, they don't. Right.
No.
So the only people who care are people like you and I,
the law-abiding citizens
who obey the law. Right. So this was a key win. Now we got to keep an eye on them. They've got 45 days by law to issue that LTCF.
Okay.
No.
And
like I said, you got to keep the feet in the fire. I mean, we're always at the battle. But one thing I like about the GOA is they're offensive. That's what I like about you all.
Yeah.
You're not waiting. Okay, we got this little bitty win or a half a win.
Offensive, not offensive.
Yeah. Well,
so I just read I shared on my Facebook maybe a month ago, that there was a county that in Pennsylvania as well who had come out and said that they are suspending in-person. At that point, I don't believe that they had it. I don't remember what county it was, but have you had any other instances where, has your vision been focused in any other direction with the same kind of stuff?
Allegheny County,
where
I'm from, and I'm from Pittsburgh originally, that they closed down, and then because of the threat of the lawsuit from FPC, they reopened.
Okay.
But they were reopened completely. They took it back right to the beginning, where you can walk in and get your LTCF in person. Nice. Yeah, we like Evan was saying, we do. We believe at GOA the best defense is a good offense.
Definitely.
Right, because when you're fighting for your Second Amendment rights, if you play defense all the time, No one wins a defensive
Right.
war. Someone's going to keep rolling boulders down the hill. One of them's eventually going to get through.
Yeah.
So you have to stop them from rolling boulders, but you got to roll some boulders yourself,
No,
right?
And
And
you
put them
guys
on
do.
defense.
And GOA does it. I mean,
That's right.
you did it. You didn't with the bump stock ban.
Yeah.
And it didn't go. I mean, but you took the battle to them.
Right.
The GOA took the battle to them, and that was more than what I could say for a lot of other.
Right, exactly. There are some other small organizations. Small, I say relatively, but there are some other organizations that are taking action. But I really think that they're following your guys' lead. I mean, I think that
that's
prior to GOA coming in and really taking the torch, we had the NRA, and I think a lot of people,
Not
and
real
I included, feel like the NRA really kind of dropped the ball, and they kind of turned their back on what some of the founding principles were of that organization, and they became another lobbying group, just like any other lobbying group. And Evan and I have both been NRA instructor certified. We bought into the organization for some time, and I think that like a lot of organizations that grow to a certain size, they just became about something different than what we were about. And then I think GOA came in, they took that torch and they ran with it. And then I think you have a lot of other smaller, again, relatively smaller organizations.
There's a bunch of little lobbyists.
That these organizations, they're doing similar good work, but I think Gunners of America, is kind of the house name now that most of us in this community recognize as the go-to organization.
Well, thank you for that, and I think the difference is our philosophy. What's behind our philosophy is something known as confrontational politics. Our founder is Senator H.L. Richardson, who is a state senator from California, and he's since passed. But he wrote a book, and the book was titled Confrontational Politics. And so we approach things a little bit differently than the NRA and some other groups that use a model called access. Right?
Okay.
So what they do is they need to have access to the politicians, the elected officials, the legislators, the governor, whoever it might be.
Right.
And so they play nice with them. They go in there, and they're supposed to represent the membership to the legislature. But what ends up happening is, over time, they become part of the system, and they end up representing the legislature to the members. And so they allow the legislature to tell them, this is what is acceptable. This is the only thing we can get done. They buy the excuses. Why? Because they want to maintain access, and so have someone return their phone calls, whatever it may be. Now, the way we approach this at GOA is we tell, like, I'm a lobbyist in Harrisburg. But when I go to the Capitol, it's a little different. We have our agenda. We know what our members want. For example, we know they want constitutional carry, right?
Right.
Yep.
So we go into the legislators. So we want you to co-sponsor this bill. You said you were pro Second Amendment on your survey. We want you to follow through in your commitment. And that's what we do, and we explain it to them that way. And so 80% of what we do is grassroots activism. It's the members like you out in the community in York County, Lancaster, wherever you're listening from, or you're on the internet too, it can be anywhere. We rely upon you to contact your elected officials, and that's what makes us different than a lot of other groups. And then my job in the Capitol is a lot easier. I'd say that's 80% of what we do is that grassroots stuff. And then when I go in the lobby of the legislature, I have a grassroots army behind me. So I represent.
I'm there.
Right. I represent a bunch of people, and they understand that. And they also understand that we're not afraid to mobilize those people for confrontation. And that doesn't mean that word can conjure negative meaning. It doesn't mean we're rude to people.
Right.
We're not rude to people. We're polite, but we're firm, and that you can never exchange or accept the lie that being firm and resolute is somehow being rude to people, or holding them accountable is being rude to people.
We got an expression in the South called "we're holding their feet to the fire." Bottom line, you said you're gonna do this. We expect you to do this.
Right. That's the bottom line. That's how we approach it.
I mean, we put our time, our effort. It's like Senator, what's that great senator? He's a colonel too, full bird colonel. What is his name? Masato or?
Which what's the saying you're thinking of?
I'm not talking about the, without the Second Amendment, wouldn't have the First Amendment without the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
But Doug is out there and he's, my God, he's got.
Oh,
Mastriano, yes.
Oh,
yeah, he's awesome. He is awesome.
When we've become a society in the past, like say 2 decades, where compromise has become a value that we pursue, or that we think is valiant, or that it's valuable. This idea that, and I was listening to a Jordan Peterson interview, and the interviewer said, well, isn't there sometimes strength and weakness? And Jordan Peterson was like, no, absolutely not. Weakness in its nature, by its definition, is weakness. It can't also be strength. Like that's not how it works.
No.
So, but that question embodies so much that our society has drifted down into, this idea that weakness is strength, right? 2 + 2 is 5.
That's Common Core math.
Yeah, but the 1984, the reference. But the thing is we have adopted this idea that compromise is valuable, that it's a good thing to compromise, and I think that personally, I think it's not. I think that if you are solid in your beliefs and your principle, right? If you are strong in them, then there's no reason for you to compromise.
No.
And that doesn't mean that there's not a necessity to compromise sometimes, because there is. In a civil society, sometimes there is necessity to compromise, but it should never be the goal. It should never be the thing that we are pursuing is a compromise.
Right, and you make a really good point there, because there are things that happen within Harrisburg, within a state legislature or in Congress, where compromise is probably okay.
Right.
We're talking about maybe how much money to put in a budget for something, right? But what we don't want to compromise on is our fundamental human rights, our fundamental liberties, the Bill of Rights, what's guaranteed, those rights that existed before the Constitution that God has given us. Those are right, and so those cannot be infringed upon.
No.
So if you compromise on those basic human rights, or basic liberties and freedoms, you've already begun losing the battle.
Yep.
Because the left comes back the next time and chips a little bit more.
Well,
away. Chips a little bit more away. Chips a little bit more.
You can
away.
never put that piece back.
And the thing about it is, what we give an inch, they take a mile in a heartbeat.
Or they'll take a mile next year.
Right.
Or they take a mile next year.
It's increments. There's a saying it's like all gains are increments, but not all increments are gains. Right?
No.
Right. So we have to do the same thing as the left has done. So we push for pro-gun bills. We're speaking of the Second Amendment here and gun rights. So we push for pro-gun bills, and we chip a little bit away at them. Next year we come back and chip a little bit more away.
Well, that's
right. And it's the same way. It's either repealing a bad law, or advancing something new.
Well, here's the thing: constitutional carry, we're almost there. I know it got vetoed. I know Wolf vetoed those 2 bills.
We didn't have constitutional carry up.
We
never got out of committee this year.
But that doesn't mean next year it won't. We keep pushing.
Right, and again, people say, why would you bother? Governor Wolf, he's just going to veto it anyway. What are you doing? And I say, well, no, it's important to push legislation, even if the government put it on his desk.
Right.
Like the 2 bills we put
At
on his
least
desk.
you got it to his desk.
We got it to his desk, and we got a recorded vote.
Yeah, and we can blame him for it at that point.
You can blame him for it. Not only that, where your elected officials really stand on these issues.
Yeah.
Because they have to vote on it.
Yeah.
That's what's important, and it keeps people informed. And then when it comes down to election season, we know who's on our side and who isn't.
Yeah.
And so what does the incumbent politician want to do? Not vote on anything.
Right.
Because if they vote on something, they take a risk of making somebody angry at them, and they could lose an election. So that's why in politics, nothing moves unless it's pushed.
Yep.
Right.
The greatest force that you have to overcome is inertia.
Yep. And, like we said, we're almost there, constitutional here in PA.
We just need a new governor. But here's the thing, and this is what we got to be careful of. if just for the sake of argument, we get a conservative governor, it was more than likely would be a Republican in this case. It used to be that there were pro-gun Democrats.
Yeah,
but there aren't too many anymore.
Right.
And we're nonpartisan at GOA, and it's that. I remember a time when there were quite a few pro-gun Democrats.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I personally know on an individual level several Democrats that are pro-gun. But in the political arena, there's virtually none.
But it doesn't mean, let's say you get what they call a trifecta. So you have Republican, House, Senate, and that doesn't mean that you're going to get what you want.
No.
Because now they're like, hey, wait a minute. We're in power. We have a trifecta. Let's protect that.
Right.
So they don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. So So the left has been so much better at
organizing,
or better at not betraying their base and advancing their agenda.
Yeah. And I wish we could learn. I mean, but like we've said at countless gun shows, Val. Mm-hmm. I mean, getting conservatives together is like herding cats.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's really pathetic.
When I read an article about how the advantage the left has over us is that when you have say you have a pro-choice rally, at that pro-choice rally you will have everybody from all walks of the left, right? Whether it be pro-choice people, it could be women's feminism, it could be LGBTQ XYZ, it could be any number of left-leaning
groups,
and agendas. They merge together and they kind of ride on the coattails of whatever organization is marching for whatever they're marching for.
We just started doing that.
And now,
just started.
But now we see, right? You look at our side. I mean, I am constantly seeing Republicans and libertarians bump heads about who's right and who's wrong about their ideology. When at their core, they're conservative. They're right leaning. We'll say, so at their core, they're right leaning in their political beliefs at least, and they're bumping heads.
And coalition building is very important. And I'll give you an example. So GOA, we're involved in the Pennsylvania Coalition for Election Integrity, but that's going to involve a lot of different groups coming together for a common cause. So we got to do a better job at that. But my point about the trifecta is this: we have to push, even with don't think it's going to happen automatically. They may be less likely to pass a bill with a Republican governor because the governor says, I'm going to keep this. I have my agenda and I want to do this. Mm-hmm. And if I do that, we might lose our majority. It's that kind of thing. And so they start that game with you, and then they explain it to you. Let me explain how it works.
Yeah.
Right. If we don't come back in 2 years, then the Democrats will take over.
Right.
So so our job is to be consistent and push and to realize they are going to have to deliver on their promise. They can't thump their chests every 2 or 4 years in Pennsylvania and say, "Look, I'm for the Second Amendment," and then don't do anything about it.
I remember Boehner. Prime example was Boehner. Mm-hmm. Tea Party movement was real strong. We got Boehner, Speaker of the House. What does he do? He cowers. I mean, he becomes a swamp thing like that.
Yeah. So, Val, what on the state level, what do we have going on that we should be paying attention to, that we could take action on?
Yes.
What's going on here at the state level?
That's a great question. So, as you know, the session has ended, and on November 30th, the new legislature will be sworn in on January 5th. So we have kind of three things we want to push on the pro-gun side. Again, going back to my comments about throwing snowballs, right? Yep. So we're on offense. Always be on offense. Yep. You always attack. Even when you defend, attack.
Attack, yeah.
Right. So the first bill, our signature flagship bill, we've mentioned it a couple times already, is constitutional carry. So, no license to carry firearms required to carry if you're within the state of Pennsylvania. However, the bill does allow you, if you say you want reciprocity with other states, and optional, you can still get an LTCF if you want to do the reciprocity.
Sure, yeah.
So that's the big one. The second thing is we want to strengthen our firearms preemption laws. So you remember what happened in Pittsburgh and what continues to happen in Philadelphia.
Yep.
These local rogue mayors like Bill Peduto and Jim Kenney, these guys think they're above the law and they can violate it. So
Those
what the bills will do is if they pass an illegal ordinance, then and if they're sued in court by ordinary gun owner like you and me, then you can recover damages.
Nice.
And this is important because every town USA is backing mayors in this country to challenge preemption laws. So there's Bloombucks, Bloomberg's billionaires are doing pro bono or free legal help to every city. So the playing field isn't level. And what the preemption bills do is it levels the playing field. If you do this and you lose, open up your checkbook, City of Pittsburgh, because you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. Okay.
Well, you look at,
right.
I mean, prime example's Kyle Rittenhouse. Prime example on that.
Yeah, but the preemption laws are specifically referring to like an instance where like the city is trying to come out and say, okay, we're going to now restrict firearm use. Like say York would say we're going to restrict people to use and carry their firearms. Where in the preemption laws basically are that the Pennsylvania law and Constitution, basically supersede anything else, and if there's anything that oppose that, then Pennsylvania law and Constitution
right.
precedent.
So it's the way the law is the only authority to regulate firearms is in the state legislature. Municipalities, counties, townships, whatever, cannot do that. And when they do, they're violating the law, and they're doing it with impunity now. So this again, if we just have to sue them to get our rights back.
Right.
And it costs a lot of money to hire an attorney to go to court and fight it. And if this says if they lose, they pay. Loser pays, right?
Yeah, good.
So that's exactly what we want. And the third thing is we got to start thinking about this. We don't know what's going to happen in Georgia with those, so the U.S. Senate hangs in the balance with two Senate special elections in Georgia also on January 5th. If the U.S. Senate flips to the Democrats, there's what will happen is they'll get rid of the filibuster, which means that there will only be 51 votes in the Senate. It'll be just like the House. It'll be just a simple majority to get something passed. The filibuster protection will be gone. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. D.C. Puerto Rican statehood, of course, that's another thing to permanently maintain Democratic majority. They want to add senators.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, that gun control is going to get fast-tracked because we know what Joe Biden's agenda is.
Yep.
So one of the things we want to think about...
Mandatory assault rifle buyback.
All kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And what we want to think about is a Firearms Freedoms Act in Pennsylvania. And what this bill would do is essentially... It's a non-cooperation. We're not going to cooperate with enforcement of federal law. You can't use any of our resources to enforce federal law here. This harkens back, and we're here in York County, and there's a story. There was a runaway slave, and she crossed the Mason-Dixon line here into York County, and she was arrested by a bounty hunter. And Pennsylvania, she was seized by the bounty hunter, and the Pennsylvania arrested this man for kidnapping because it was against the law. We had a Freedom Act here, and so that case went to the Supreme Court, and our law was declared unconstitutional. And in response to that, our state passed, along with other northern states, personal freedom laws, and they were basically. We're not cooperating with anything the federal government or with the Fugitive Slave Act or anything like that. So, so this is kind of like that, and it has a long-standing history in U.S. jurisprudence. Is that this is called the non-commandeering principle? That's the federal government cannot give an unfunded mandate to the state and make them do it.
Right.
And so this will draw a line in the sand. It's kind of like a Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance, but on the state level.
Yeah.
Okay. And the state's going to say we're not going to deal with anything with enforcement of these unconstitutional laws.
That's what basically what Virginia did with Newstrom, down there.
But Virginia did also. Interesting enough, Virginia did that with the National Defense Authorization Act in 2012, 2013. There was that act suspended habeas corpus.
Right.
So somebody could get arrested and be held without
indefinitely. Yeah.
Indefinitely. The entire legislature passed a bill that said we're not enforcing this in Virginia.
Wow.
Okay. And guess who voted for it? Governor Blackface.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So he was in the legislature at the time. So that's kind of it's on the same level as that.
Is it similar to, I mean, I guess that's kind of what some of the states are doing that have legalized cannabis, right? They've basically said we're not enforcing federal law at this point. So is it similar?
There are similarities to
Yeah.
it. There are some similarities. And also the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinance movement may get some renewed interest next year if the Senate flips.
Yeah.
Just like it did in Virginia, but this time it'll be the federal government and not the state government.
Oh,
like
it's gonna,
it was in Virginia.
it's gonna go. That's gonna be real interesting.
Right.
So that should be the one really that we are reaching out and trying to put some focus on with, because that's the biggest looming threat, I think.
If
Yeah.
certainly if the Senate flips, absolutely, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think even if Biden ends up the sitting president, I think that becomes
administratively a threat. Yes,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
correct. Yeah, and he's definitely going to use the ATF against us. We
Yes.
know that.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it is. I think it'll get more traction, and we don't want this to happen. Don't get me wrong. If the Senate flips in Georgia, then I think it would get a lot more traction. But and of course, our barrier. And the other thing I want people to think about is we need to think right now. If you're listening out there, 2 years from now, that we have to prepare now for the midterms. And here's why: Governor Wolf cannot run again for office. He terms out.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Okay, so he terms out. But guess what?
You still got Pat Toomey up there.
No, Pat Toomey's not going to run.
He's not going to run.
No, he's out. Okay,
Good.
the person who's going to run that we have to be concerned about on the Democratic side is our Attorney General, Josh Shapiro.
Oh.
Josh Shapiro is, and mark my words, and please write this down, whatever you have to do. I want you to remember this. Josh Shapiro is the most dangerous person in Pennsylvania for your gun rights. Let me say that again. Josh Shapiro is the most dangerous person in Pennsylvania when it comes to your gun rights. I am not exaggerating. This Attorney General wrote an opinion out of thin air banning 80% lowers. That's like, if you deal with AR-15s, right? It's a hunk of metal.
Right.
And he tried to call it a firearm. And, of course, there was an injunction that was in federal court, and it's still cases pending, but the injunction stopped the enforcement, fortunately. Okay? I'm not sure what court is in. Forgive me, I don't remember off the top of my head. But the bottom line, no, that's not in California.
Oh, that's all right.
So the that's all right. Believe me, I get this stuff is hard. There's a lot of stuff to keep straight in your head. But there's an injunction. They sought an injunction, and then so that's not being enforced. The state police already had it on the forums to be for the background checks.
Right.
Okay, so this is the level this man is on. This is where he's at. You get a guy like Tom Wolf is bad. Don't get me wrong, but this guy is terrible.
He's worse.
He's even worse than that. I know that Senator Harry Reid said that about us. He said the NRA is bad. We're worse than bad.
Yeah,
that's a compliment when it comes to us.
Hey.
But with Shapiro, he's awful. Okay.
Well, I mean, you're on a deplorable general show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the thing. They say, people say, well, the police will never stand by and let a lot of this stuff happen. But like we've seen that's not the case, right? I mean, like we've seen gradually over the past 60, 70 years. That like you said, they've been chipping away at it slowly, away at it, and the police they do their job, so to speak, and they enforce those things.
I got news for you. Being from law enforcement, there was probably the guys that we would shoot with, that I would regularly go shoot.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably about 10 or 12 of us. And that was that was like 3 or 4 guys out of my department, 3 or 4 guys out of this department that were really into, hey, we want to come home. The rest of them, I'll just shoot when I had to qualify. Mm-hmm. And that was and the ones that, I'm just going to shoot when I qualify. Well, those are the ones that had lieutenant bars, the captain's bars, and no offense to officer, I know I'm talking to a colonel here.
Oh, that's all right.
No, but what I'm saying is, where
are you going with that, Evan?
I know where I'm going. I state officer.
All right, that's right. It's all right.
No,
We
no,
understand.
it's not. No, it's administrative versus the street.
Right.
Right.
People are going to do what they're ordered and what they're told if they
Right.
want to get a paycheck at the end.
And
Right.
it's the ones that are up there next to that sitting in the boardrooms and all them with the chiefs and everything up there. Those are the ones that are anti-gun.
Yeah, that I think you're right. And in getting back to my point about the election, so so we got to think about 2022.
Yeah.
So Josh Shapiro is going to be the rise is the star candidate. He'll he's got the Philadelphia money behind
scary,
him, the
yeah.
big Philadelphia money, and he more than likely, almost certain, will be the Democratic candidate for governor. So who's going to run on the Republican side against this guy? We have some luminaries like Doug Mastriano, who's looking very promising. He'll probably run, and somebody's got to carry the torch for gun rights and be on our side, and then we have to work very hard to win that election and to defeat Josh Shapiro.
Yeah.
We're absolutely
and
positive
whoever-
that is a must.
Yeah.
And listen, whoever does run for our side, we'll go to them. We'll do the podcast, whatever it takes to get them out. And like I said, with your help,
Yeah.
they got not just in this studio. We'll go to them.
And here's another thing we got to think about and plan for it now is Act 77. As you know, this is the Mail-in Voting Act.
Right.
And the whole fiasco of
Jeez.
the November general election and the presidential election put a spotlight on this.
Yeah.
So, as you know, the case wasn't heard at the Supreme Court at all, and our Pennsylvania Supreme Court dismissed the case from Congressman Mike Kelly and Sean Parnell with prejudice. So it's kind of back where it started. So we have to have a new plaintiff come forward and challenge the constitutionality of this act. So if you look in the Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 2, Section 4, I believe it is, it only talks about absentee voting under specific circumstances. It presumes in-person voting and absentee voting is only allowed under these certain conditions.
Most like military.
Right, or if you can't be in the state, and then you have to request a ballot. So I think, and actually Justice Saylor in our Pennsylvania Supreme Court said in his opinion, even though we're dismissing this case of Mike Kelly and Sean Parnell, the constitutional arguments here should be heard. This is a Pennsylvania Supreme Court justice.
Right.
Okay, so we have to reattack, as we'd say in the Air Force, reattack, right? Okay, if you didn't hit the target the first time, you reattack. Okay, so reattack this year, and that has to go. Act 70, and here's why. Because the Philadelphia Democratic machine, unlike the Republicans, who know nothing about mail-in voting,
Right.
zero. Okay, the Democratic machine in Pittsburgh, more so in Philadelphia, I would say, can do whatever they know how to do it. They know how to harvest the ballots.
Right. Yep.
Right. So they can
That's
find
exact-
they can find votes whenever they want to find votes. Okay.
And guys, I mean, we saw the fiasco. We saw this. I don't know if you know this, but there's 13 with more states coming suing Philadelphia. My hometown.
Pennsylvania. Yeah. Right.
My home
Right.
state of Arkansas is one of the guys
Yeah.
that is suing Philadelphia right now.
I wish we could join in, to that as well. Sue our own state for being disenfranchised by the system. But yeah, I agree. We need to focus on that. Big
That
time.
has to be done immediately.
Yeah.
And it's to ensure the integrity of the election
That's
process.
what I mean. Regardless,
I don't remember a time in my life where I really sat back, when Bill Clinton won, when Barack Obama won. I never really questioned the election.
Sure.
No.
I'm like, okay, they won.
Yeah, it sucks, but
right.
okay.
Yeah, that's it. Right. You didn't
Yeah.
agree with it, but
Right.
but now there's 50% of the population, at least,
more.
or more,
Yeah.
right, doesn't trust it.
No.
Yeah.
Right. So and the
that's-
and the part of the problem is we really didn't have mail-in voting, as my friend, New Hampshire State Director for GOA, Alan Rice, says. We had mail-out voting, right?
Yeah.
It's like they mail ballots to everybody. So what could go wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in Pennsylvania, we're having a referendum process. There's another level of threat to that mail-in voting. If we take it to a place where they can now offer a referendum and now get these mail-in ballots to the large number of people that they need. Target those people with these mail-in ballots and get a referendum passed. Now all of a sudden we bypass the legislative process, Congress at least, and now laws don't need to be passed. We can pass referendums based off of targeting these.
The good news is Pennsylvania is not a referendum state, so that's the good news about it. But it could be manipulated. But some areas of Pennsylvania do have referendums, like counties that have home rule charters. They can put things on the ballot by a referendum. So it can be manipulated, in many different ways.
Yeah.
But most of it is just creating votes out of thin air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what did it for me. And there's enough proof that they did ballot harvesting with kicking Republican vote counters, poll watchers out, physically pushing them out. That right there in itself makes that all and void to me. I'm sorry.
We have to have good leadership on the conservative side as we enter 2021, and we do have some people who have stepped up to the plate. The most visible person everybody knows around here is Doug Mastriano.
Yeah.
Part of his district is in York County. It goes through like the Hanover area. He's really kind of led the way, and I know he'll be at the Capitol tomorrow for a rally. Here's the thing. There's an establishment in every political party. Yeah. And so in order for somebody like Doug Mastriano to win, the grassroots, the people like you, have to be behind him. And that involves not just money, involves volunteering your time, talent, knocking on doors, going and doing something for his campaign or whoever's going to be the nominee. If you believe in that person, then you need to back them. And this is what I tell people all the time when I do like events. I say, you have to get involved, and it's talking to your legislators, and then when election season rolls around, if you have a good candidate, that candidate cannot win unless you help.
Yep.
Right.
Okay,
That's right.
Either it doesn't have to be money. It could be making phone calls, doing text messages, knocking on doors. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Volunteer is a surrogate for money.
I was out there with Alicia putting things on door handles with her.
For Scott Perry.
For Scott Perry.
Right. We backed Scott Perry. GOA donated $5,000 to his campaign. I think that's the maximum you can give under federal law.
Yeah.
But our friends here, our GOA members, I put out the call. We had a couple of volunteers who went out and knocked on doors and or put door hangers on for Scott Perry.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing you have to think. But you have to think about it now. You have to get involved, because if you don't engage, then we're going to get our butts kicked in 2022. And and if Shapiro wins, that's a big loss for gun owners across the state. Again, he is the most dangerous person for your gun rights in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Let me say that again. Josh Shapiro is the most dangerous person for your gun rights in Pennsylvania. Now, you got to know that.
What's so funny here is this program, what we're doing here, is sponsored by Tom Wolf of all things.
No way.
Yeah.
This program?
No, not
Deplorable General?
No, I'm talking about the building.
Oh, White Rose Community. Right. Oh, all right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's a public access station.
It's public access.
Right.
So we're right here just knocking him, and he can't do anything about it because we got so many viewers.
That's right.
Yeah, we got a lot of viewers, so it's like,
so
we're here.
Then, so it's Act 77, right? That's
Act 77.
Act 77 is something that people need to be paying attention to and actively pushing back against.
And in the legislatures, they should try to repeal it, but you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Veto. That's
Of
not a
course.
signature. That's a veto.
Yep.
Yeah, veto.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is what are they called again? I'm sorry, the freedom.
Well, the bills,
Yeah,
like
the
constitutional carry,
Right.
the preemption bill, and the Firearms Freedoms Act.
Firearms Freedoms
Right.
Act. Okay.
Mhm.
Firearms Freedoms Act. That's a big one. 77's a big one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are some big things to. If you're at home on your computer right now, start typing those things into Google and pull them up and start learning about them, right? Because we've just kind of chipped away at the iceberg here. You got to dive into it and really figure out what they are. That's one of the most important things that you can do as Americans is become informed. So jump on and Google these things, and then from there, once you understand what it is, now you can try to come up with a plan of attack on how you can actually contribute.
Bingo.
To mobilize, right? So that's that. Now, how soon do you guys have the scorecards for the politicians? Is that up year round?
Right. Yeah, we have that up. Those normally get updated at around election time.
Right.
So you'll see there is for the last election, but that'll stay there until the new elections cycle
Yep.
when we do grades again. But if you go to pennsylvania.gunowners.org, that's our state site, pennsylvania.gunowners.org. Then you could look at all the stuff we have on there. We have a bill tracker. Again, it's from last session. We're getting ready for the new session. All this stuff will be new. And you can see what we've done over the last year and how active we've been involved. And there's also a way there for you to join GOA, or even simply it's free just to sign up for our email list. Just scroll down to the bottom of the page and type your email and your name and your name, and that's it. You're on our list. And then we'll send you a message to keep you informed of what's happening about gun rights in Harrisburg. You click the button to take action, you type your address in, your legislators load up, and bam, you can send them a message.
Yeah.
So that's all on pennsylvania.gunowners.org.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, guys, Car Arms is now in Pennsylvania too.
Yes, they've been there a while up in Greeley, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
right.
Greedy. And let me tell you something, guys. They come to gun rallies.
They're some of our strongest supporters. As a matter of fact,
Nice.
Car Arms is donating a Thompson 45. It's not a machine gun; it's a Tommy
It's a
gun, but semi-automatic
semi-automatic,
version. But it's a Tommy gun with the drum magazine. Got to have that. And we're going to be doing a giveaway in mid-December on this, and the proceeds are going to go for the Georgia race.
Nice.
Nice.
So
Like
which
a
is-
raffle that you.
It's online, right?
It's an online giveaway,
Okay.
and you could either use all the rules and stuff will come
Yep.
out. You can see it. So get on our list, get on our
Right.
email list, and you can take advantage of these things,
Yep.
like gun giveaways, and not just that, but staying informed.
Yeah.
Staying informed and
And-
doing something. That's the most important thing.
And guys, listen, these guys have done a lot with now. Back in the day, you had a separate gun owners group that was for Jews.
JPFO, they're still around.
They're still
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These guys pretty much brought them in. GOA kind of just.
We have a very good relationship with JPFO,
Yeah.
and still do.
Yeah.
Alan Rice, our New Hampshire director, it was on the board of JPFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Val, thanks again for coming out. I think
Hey,
you've
you're
got
welcome.
some good actionable items. Sign up for that email list and make sure you open it and read it. Don't let it be like one of the other.
Right.
1,000
Please
emails
do. Yeah,
and just
get
delete it
involved.
Click on it and take action.
Right, that's it. You got to do that, folks. You got to learn, and you have to mobilize. That's the big thing that we are not
And you
doing.
make-
but
and you
other
make
people
the,
on the other side, they are doing it, and
That's
we're
right.
not. We got to do it. So, again, Val, thank you for coming out. We
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it as always. Thomas Jefferson said that when the people fear their government, it's tyranny, but when the government fears its people, it's liberty.
Yep.
What Gun Owners of America does here is create an environment for the government to fear us, the people. Not fear us in the sense where we're going to take up arms against them or anything crazy like that. Fear us in the sense of we're here and we're going to hold them accountable, and we are paying attention. So don't put them in a position where they're just bluffing, okay? Because if they're
We're
just
not
up
bluffing,
there-
people.
If they're up there barking and you aren't the teeth of this organization by standing behind them and helping mobilize behind these actions, then it's not going to go where it should. We might get a little headway, but it's not going to get us far enough ahead for us to make it.
We got to hit, and we got to hit hard.
That's right.
So Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be
Thank
again
you.
back here next week, Thursday at 8 o'clock. I'm Andy,
And I'm Evan.
Deplorable General.
Over and out.